Welcome back, my friends, to another one of my weekly mobile gaming summary videos, where today we will be talking about 4 great new mobile games that I played last week, ranging from an offline dungeon crawler RPG in the vein of Card Thief, to a turn-based roguelike with a unique twist on the match-3 combat system, an action bow and arrow shooter, and lastly, a fantasy-themed idle RPG with just a crazy amount of content and a pretty decent monetization system as well. So if that sounds up your alley, then be sure to stick around till the end of this video for my favorite game of the week. And if you like what you're seeing or what you're listening to, then be sure to throw a like and subscribe for more of this mobile gaming goodness. And now then, let's just look at today's first game, Lost in the Dungeon, which is a turn-based roguelike RPG puzzle game with a unique twist on your typical match-3 gameplay mechanic. So starting out in this game, we pick one of 8 unique heroes, for which we can then buy permanent upgrades and new skills before we launch a play session. And once we're then inside one of these play sessions, we're presented with a grid of tiles, and our goal then is to deal damage by connecting 3 or more tiles of a color that matches the color of one of the enemies that spawn in waves at the top of the screen. Whenever we deal with an enemy in this game, we get some gold, and when we're done with an entire wave of enemies, we can then spend some of that gold in a shop where we can buy new equipment for our hero, which increases our overall stats like our defense, for example, or our attack power. And whenever we level up our hero, we also get to pick a temporary stat increase as well. So that's pretty much the core gameplay loop, but it's spiced up a bit though through tiles that have power-ups attached to them, which activates whenever we destroy those tiles, as well as through certain enemies that can lock up parts of our grid of tiles or even heal their ally enemies. The game is both fun and it's well made, and this unique twist of RPG, match-3 and roguelike elements really come very nicely together in this game. But what about the monetization system then? Well, this game has chosen to monetize through incentivized ads that we can choose to watch to get additional loot, and then in-app purchases to get more orbs, which is the currency we use to unlock and level up new heroes. But we also earn orbs through normal gameplay, which makes these in-app purchases unnecessary unless you want to unlock everything immediately. The game is offline playable, it takes up 164 MB of space, it's out both on Android and on iOS, and it's definitely worth a play if you've been looking for a solid match-3 game that, because of its roguelike nature, isn't exactly like all the other match-3 RPG games out there. Next up this week, we've got a game called Last Arrows, which is a fun, level-based arrow shooter where we try to defeat all enemies in each level with as few shots as possible to hopefully earn 3 stars in each level. The game features 2 difficulties for each level, as well as an endless survival mode where enemies just storm towards us and we have to shoot them all before they hit us. If just a single one hits us, we're pretty much done in that game mode. Now, as we progress through the game's many levels, we unlock new abilities that make combat more interesting, like for example a slow-mo ability or an ability that allows us to shoot arrows that curve on their way to the enemy, which makes it possible to shoot around obstacles. The game monetizes through advertisements that pop up between levels from time to time, but with a $2 in-app purchase to remove those ads completely, and then there are a few other in-app purchases to unlock new heroes immediately if we don't want to grind the gold it requires to unlock them. But that's the key though, we can actually just grind enough, and eventually then we'll be able to unlock every single hero in this game. The game can be played offline, it takes up 194 MB of space, it's out both on Android and on iOS, and as an indie game that is still being updated till this date, this is a pretty solid casual experience that's worth checking out if you enjoy archery combat. But you know, you've been looking for something that's not Archero these days, which can be a bit difficult, honestly, because most new archery games basically just copy Archero, it seems. Now, if on the other hand, you're looking for an idle game instead, I think you'll really end up enjoying this next game called Endless Frontier, because it's a freaking huge fantasy-themed RPG idle game where we start auto-repeating quests to earn gold, and then we spend that gold by unlocking and leveling up progressively better and stronger heroes that then fights monsters for us automatically. The game offers a ton of features to keep things interesting, like gear with lots of interesting attributes, a resource dungeon, a guild system, a PvP battle arena, and just a lot more features like that. When things then eventually slow down to a halt, we can of course, as in any idle game, reset our progress in exchange for a currency used to buy permanent upgrades that improve our heroes, and then the gameplay loop kinda repeats itself. The progression in Endless Frontier is very fast-paced, which made it a very enjoyable experience for me, and unlike many other idle games, we're not actually forced to watch advertisements to really progress in this game either. Now, I feel like I really have to address the in-app purchases in this game, because there are lots of them, but thankfully none of them feel feels necessary to still be able to progress and enjoy the game. And we also earn free premium currency through normal gameplay throughout the game, and not just in the first few hours to lure us in, but it actually keeps going. We keep earning free premium currency, and, you know, that makes it so that none of the in-app purchases are truly necessary, unless, of course, you just want to speed through the game, and I don't know for what reason, but if you want to unlock everything immediately, you can do so through those in-app purchases. But that means that it's a perfectly enjoyable experience, even as a free-to-play player, and I really appreciate that. Now, the game requires online access. It takes up 233 megabytes of space. It's out on Android and on iOS, and it's frankly one of the more enjoyable traditional idle RPG games I've played in a long while on mobile, and those of you who saw my post over on Reddit last week also really seem to enjoy it, either having enjoyed it in the past or you're still playing it and still enjoying it, so I'm pretty confident in giving this game a positive recommendation here on YouTube as well. Okay, now hear me out here. It seems that in every one of these episodes, there has to be that one game with a name so difficult or so ridiculous that I just can't properly pronounce it, and this week, that game is Look Your Loot, which isn't strictly difficult to pronounce, but it's still one of the weirdest names I've ever seen for a mobile game. But thankfully though, it's actually a really well-made game. It's a card-based dungeon crawler inspired by Card Thief, and I guess this game sets itself mostly apart by having multiple game modes, all of which are available in the free version of the game. Our goal in Look Your Loot is to get as far as possible into a dungeon that consists of a 3x3 or a 4x3 grid of cards that can either contain enemies or potions or loot, and then at certain intervals we'll also meet a boss card as well, and once we defeat that one, we level up and we get to pick one of 2 random power-ups that will then last us until we die in the game, and then at that point we just start all over. So in that sense, it has a bit of that roguelike feel to it. With 11 unique heroes to play as, which we unlock through in-game gold or premium currency, and multiple game modes, the game is very enjoyable and it has a decent level of replayability as well. Now, the game has chosen to monetize through advertisements that appear from time to time when we die, which, as it seems is the case with most of the games I play these days, can be removed through a single $2 in-app purchase. We do also have a few other in-app purchases to buy premium currency, which allows us to unlock 4 out of those 11 heroes that you do actually need premium currency to unlock. The game can be played offline. It takes up only 42 megabytes of space, which means it loads in less than a second on my phone. This is the fastest loading game I've ever seen. It's out on Android and iOS already, and if you enjoyed Card Thief, then you'll most likely enjoy this one as well. It's also my favorite game of the week, so give it a go if you find the gameplay intriguing. And there we go, that is a wrap. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode and that you'll subscribe and leave a like on your way out if you haven't already. I will go play some The 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross now, which just released, by the way, so I bid you farewell. I'll do a video on that game eventually, hopefully next week, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.